Do you want to know what teams thought of each other's draft? Well, we have it for you. We'll bring it to you in our Draft Confidential. Right now, we're looking at the AFC South. And Nolan, in Houston, Rick Smith, he played at Purdue, and obviously it looked like his draft kind of showed that Midwestern flavor. A lot of guys from that area. How would you characterize his draft?
Well, a lot of evaluators around the league thought there were a lot of reaches in this draft. Whitney Merciless, some teams had buried in the 3rd to 4th rounds. Brandon Brooks didn't go to the combine. Some teams had him sitting in the 5th. I did think he'd go in the 2nd and went in the 3rd. So, I mean, I think there was a solid value there. Devier Posey went in the 4th, Ben Jones. A lot of teams projected them to go much further than they did. So I think if you look throughout the draft, the biggest criticism was that he reached too often.
And even snuck in a pick from Purdue, Nick Mondek in round 7. Good work there by Rick Smith to get the homer pick in. Andrew Luck in Indianapolis was obviously a no-brainer, but GM Ryan Grigson, his first year as a GM as well, he spent 6 of the next 7 helping out Luck with his supporting cast and didn't really help out that defense at all for Chuck Pagano. People view that as a bit of a surprise?
I think there are some weapons to work with on defense. You look at what they have on offense, there's a very weak supporting cast overall. And I think the biggest thing that caught teams off guard is you go down the picks. Kobe Fleener, the big question was about his toughness. Is he going to be able to stay healthy and fight through injuries? Same story with T.Y. Hilton, very selective going across the middle, has an injury history that could affect his career. And despite having playmaking ability, there are some questions there about his toughness. Another similar storyline with Vic Ballard from Mississippi State. So I think if there was any concern about this class, it was that a lot of them are hit or miss type of players.
Yeah, obviously, I guess you want to set up your first round pick and your #1 quarterback to have some success. Got to give it to him by giving some players on offense to work with. In Jacksonville last year for Blaine Gabbert, he didn't have a lot of those weapons, and I think people thought that he would get them this year in the draft. The Jags only spent their first pick, Justin Blackmon, on offense. People around the league think the Jags did enough to give Mike Mularkey something to be able to work with?
He's sitting with the offensive line that I think ranks in the bottom quarter of the league. A lot of teams around the league, if you ask them what's more important, the running back or an offensive line, they'll tell you it's the running back. The running back finds creases and makes things work, and you can scheme around your offensive line by getting rid of the ball quickly. I think that's what Mike Mularkey is going to try to do with Blaine Gabbert this season. I think that's more of what he tried to do with Matt Ryan in Atlanta, and it's something we're going to expect to see more of this year.
They obviously already have the running game there with MJD. We'll see if they can get the passing game going now with Justin Blackmon in the mix. In Tennessee, Rustin Webster, it's his first draft as a GM, much like a few guys in this division it seems like we're talking about. But what do you think that people around the league thought he did well in this draft and maybe not as well?
Well, the first 2 picks, Kendall Wright and Zach Brown, you'd like to get safe players, can't-miss type prospects. And Rustin Webster is a conservative type of decision maker. I think he went a little bit more risky than he has in the past with these 2 players. They both had some concerns, and they're not surefire, can't-miss type players. The other thing I thought he did really well was he found players that match his scheme. Mike Martin, I think, will come in much like Carl Klug a year ago and really do a good job in the middle of that defensive line. I think they'll get some value in rounds 4 through 7 with players like Cody Sensabaugh and Scott Salmon.
Yeah, we saw them get guys last year that weren't big-name guys, Colin McCarthy, Carl Klug, these kind of guys that came in and contributed right away. We'll see if the same thing happens again for the Tennessee Titans. That's what we've heard about the drafts for all of the AFC South teams. We have Draft Confidential on every division. You can check it out at ProFootballWeekly.com.